All right. David Fisher here from the David Fisher podcast, where we are trying to get a little bit better today than yesterday. Yes, that's right, friends, family. Happy that you are joining me today for our podcast. Today's topic of discussion: putting in the work. I get that asked quite a bit. I think I ask myself more than anything else. What does that mean? Like putting in the work. Why is that something that is important? What are the components of putting in the work? Certainly can mean different things to different people. So I wanted to share with you my thoughts and feelings about putting in the work. I thought I'd break it down into really a couple different components. And I think the first component of that is effort. And one of my dear friends and mentors, I mention him quite often, Bezos Kulian, talks about the two things that we are able to control, and that is effort and attitude. Effort really is what drives achievement. It's part of developing skills, having that resilience, and trying to create satisfaction. So that really ties into what last week's podcast was about, is challenges, right? Effort is, for me, defined by continuing that journey, continuing those trying to make progress even through challenges. So challenges was the topic last week of our podcast, and thank you everybody for the feedback and likes and shares on that topic, and hopefully that this is something that resonates with you as to, even with those challenges. Today's quote here at Fit Body Boot Camp in Amherst is a John Gordon quote. Every day we have a choice. How you see the world determines the world you see. Let me say that again. How you see the world determines the world you see. See the possibilities. Remember, challenges are opportunities. And that really kind of gets me to think about Stoic philosophy. This is something that I don't think it's really new to me. I actually studied during my college days political science, and we did quite a bit in terms of Socrates and Plato and the ancient philosophers, but the whole Stoicism really didn't connect with me until much later in life, and more recently some of Ryan Holiday's works have been really good in helping to educate me in terms of that Stoic philosophy and understanding that oftentimes the mountain is the path. So getting back to having control over not only my attitude but also my effort really helped me to try to figure out, like, why is that important in terms of personal development? There's self-actualization, self-confidence, well-being, and really trying to create a change. I guess for some people, if they are happy where they're at, there's really no need to change, and that's fantastic. For me, I am somebody that is trying to get a little bit better. Whatever that means in all different aspects of my life. But I realized that it doesn't just happen. For a lot of time in my life, I thought, well, somebody is going to, I don't even honestly know, it sounds so silly saying it out loud, that going to provide me with some sort of, I don't know, wonderful job, or some sort of like inheritance, or I don't even know, like I don't play the lottery, so it wasn't really ever going to be winning the lottery. I know for a lot of people that's their retirement plan, so that was really never so much an option for me. But I thought that somehow the world was going to, somehow the universe was going to provide those opportunities for me. That it wasn't going to necessarily be through my effort. It was just going to be the way things worked out. And now in my 50s, realizing, well, I don't really know. I've still got quite a ways to go here. I'm going for 127 years old, in case anybody was wondering that. So I still have 73 years left to go. So I've decided that I'm no longer waiting. I'm going to actually put in the effort myself to drive those, achievements, to develop certain skills, and really try to have that resilience, and to strive for what I wanted to define as satisfaction in my life. So I think there was also another major point that I want to talk about, behind or in addition to the consistent efforts, and that's having that growth mindset. Because for me, that really is what influences my choices. If I chose not to have a growth mindset, it would be easy, and it has been easy for me in the past, to live a life of distractions. Things that don't really get me really anywhere, other than I don't even really know. It's probably just almost like killing time, like trying to make it through the day, trying to do things that somehow would be that dopamine hit, or that feeling of satisfaction. It could be gaming. The amount of time that I spent gaming, really, it didn't really serve anything other than myself, and really was almost a false reality. So not that I necessarily need to beat myself up about it. It certainly has helped me to get to where I'm at today. But I think about all those days, hours, weeks spent gaming, and for what? I mean, it's a fake community. I mean, sure, like certainly those people are real people, but it's not a real life situation. It's actually trying to avoid real life by being caught up in a fantasy. It's just, again, you not creating a judgment, because I've certainly have lived that life, but really trying to understand the why behind it. So I can really try to have that be a learning lesson. It's not a failure. It's, much of my perspective on things is, what are some lessons that I can take away from that? For now, in my current life, it's about trying to, at least the best that I can, be present, and understanding that, tobacco use was another one. Not a very pleasant habit, having dip cups laying around and things like that, and certainly people tolerated that with me, but I think the fact that it was, again, a vice that I needed to really gravitate towards in order to almost like feel complete, is a bigger question for me, a bigger reason for why, like what was that all about. Certainly, the addictive nature of nicotine, and again, like trying to create those scenarios, like, oh, here's what I'm going to do. For example, I'd be doing time on the game, so it's time to get a dip in. It's understanding that that's not something that serves me anymore, so it's no longer part of my life. But I think another important part of putting in the work is setting goals and taking actions, and I want to combine those, because a lot of times in my life I've had certain goals, but there really has been missing the action part. So this is 2023. My phrase of the year is being a man of action. Um, that has been something that I think of quite often when I'm at a decision making or a crossroads. Is I don't necessarily need to gather all the information. I don't need to overanalyze it. It doesn't need to be a perfect scenario, but I need to move forward. And in order to move forward, there needs to be action. And again, that's just my thought on that. Like having the understanding of why helps me to avoid stagnation, mediocrity, not missing opportunities, and certainly others may find contentment and fulfillment in other areas of life. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. For me, trying to enjoy the journey along the way in setting goals, and then understanding that there really is no finish line. That was something I learned, from David Goggins in his book Can't Hurt Me. That I always used to look for the finish line and being like, okay, once this happens, then I don't know, allow myself to feel happy, or I'll have arrived, or there will be a certain ability to, I don't know, relax or not do those things that got me to where I was trying to get to, because somehow like that finish line is the end result. And really trying to understand that there really is no finish line. It's just on to that next, whatever it is, goal, or that next mission. And I think of goal setting in terms of the acronym SMART. Specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, and timeline. I think that's what SMART stands for. At least that's how I use it. As there has to be an actual specific goal. It can't just be vague. It needs to be something that can be measured. Like how do I know my progress from day to day, week to week? Is it actually something that's obtainable? Like I'm pretty confident. There are certain, I could have a goal to, play in the NBA. Like it's not obtainable. Maybe if that was a goal as a 6-year-old, perhaps it could be obtainable. But my reality, again, that's the realistic is that, I'm not going to be an NBA star, and I'm quite fine with that. That's not, again, anything that I need to be taking action on or setting a goal for. And then the timeline, even in the next 74 years that I have on this planet, I guess I would modify that if that was really going to be something that was, important to me. Maybe you start off with, learning the game, or, participating in like, a local, basketball organization. So again, that's how I try to create goals, or take actions in order to move forward towards those specific missions. For me, I think I've mentioned this before, one of my core values is to remain teachable. So embracing continuous learning is a big part of putting in the work. So again, talking earlier about, what lessons can be learned, if I ever feel that I'm having the likelihood of saying, well, I already know that, I need to really kind of check myself at that point to be like, well, wait a second. Like if I am saying even to myself that I already know something, I'm not being teachable. I'm always trying to be a student, have that white belt mentality of what can I be learning? What is the lesson here? Whether it's, mentors, whether it's reading, whether it's, real life situations, there's lessons to be learned. And in doing so, hopefully I'm, again, trying to put in the work in order to get to that better version of myself. And I think the last piece that I want to say about putting in the work is having to cultivate an environment of discipline and work on time management. And again, I want to couple those two, the discipline and the time management, because it's always been something that is something I guess I've so much struggled with. I can remember even back in college, there was a course on time management. I thought, like, how ridiculous that is. Like, that's like even like a college course is time management, but it's such an important factor in life because, again, it's so easy to get distracted or to, tell myself I'm doing the work when I'm really not. Like, busy work is not the same thing as productive work. So, Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL, has a saying, discipline equals freedom. And there's a lot of truth behind that. Like, having the discipline takes a lot of the mind out of it. Like having those conversations of, oh, am I going to do this? If it's something that's part of a discipline, then it's not so much that I have to have that conversation of whether I'm going to do it or not. I'm just going to do it and not think about it. Like, there doesn't need to be an emotional component to, like, first thing I do when I wake up is I drink, 30 ounces of water. Again, I don't really need to think about it. I just need to do it. I don't need to, create a scenario in my head about, what if I don't do it today, or, what is this going to look like? I just know that even, if I'm not, waking up in my house, that's going to be the first thing that I'm going to figure out is, like, if I can figure it out the night before, great. If I'm, for example, traveling and I can already have the water ready to go in my room, or, whatever that looks like, it just, again, helps me to have that discipline of starting my day with a fair amount of water to help with my body. I'm 75% water. We all are, right? So having that water helps with my nervous system, digestive system, circulatory system, respiratory system. Everything that needs to get going when I'm first waking up is going to help by hydrating. So I don't need to wait till I'm dehydrated or I'm starting my day off, no matter what time it is, with water. Again, that helps me to have that freedom of being able to do things and not being in a state of dehydration. Sometimes that can still happen depending on what I got going on, but again, I'm going to try to create that discipline of, all right, what do I got going on? Am I going to start, setting up my day with, maybe some different minerals, magnesium, maybe, salt, an LMNT, some sort of aid to make sure that, my levels are not going to be falling off, and I'm going to end up, in a situation that is going to potentially be dangerous, even health-wise. Schedule really helps with that time management. This has been something that I'm still working on, is trying to schedule in everything. Schedule in doctor's appointments, we schedule in, I have an appointment today with the vehicle that, that's on the calendar, appointments for phone calls, for sales. Those things make the calendar, but sometimes things that are even more important, like family time, don't make the calendar. And again, understanding that putting a schedule together is going to help create that freedom, and help, again, with the time management. That's, again, trying to remove that procrastination, or trying to remove that conversation of, oh boy, I'm running out of time, like let me do this tomorrow, or let me work on something else that's maybe not really on the schedule, but I'm putting it on the schedule because hey, sometimes life happens, right? And we have to be able to adapt and overcome in certain situations, and certainly that was true for me even today. Talking about getting some work done on the car, having to figure that out. They took longer than they thought, kind of jammed me up today, but again, improvising, adapting, overcoming, trying to control my attitude about that, and then just trying to direct my efforts in a way to still get accomplished the things that need to be accomplished today. And wanted to really, again, reiterate that this is my path. It doesn't necessarily need to be your path. Others may find joy, fulfillment in all kinds of different things. It could be cultivating meaningful relationships. That's still important to me, and it's still part of, goals that I set, and effort that I make. It could be being present in that unique moment in life. This is, again, certainly important for me, but for somebody else, that might be really kind of what they're focusing on. That's been something that I haven't focused on in the past, and something that I still work on a daily basis, is being present. It could be creative expression. Whether that's music or art or whatever creation looks like for you. It could be gardening. I mean, there's lots of creative expression out there that I've certainly enjoyed at different times in my life. Don't have that as much as I probably would like to right now, but again, this is my path. So for some people, that is the primary focus, is that creative expression. Serving others, whether it's acts of service, however that gets translated, is again another way that a lot of people find that joy or that fulfillment in life. And I'm not saying that I don't. It is certainly the primary purpose of even this Fit Body Bootcamp, is to help others. It's to inspire fitness and change lives every single day. But that can look like lots of different things for lots of different people. Rob Dyrdek, if you are familiar with his show Ridiculousness, that's huge. It's probably, I think, the longest running show. He's got a lot of other things going on, Laugh Factory. I've recently caught up with him on a couple of podcasts that I've listened to, where he really outlines striving for harmony, and what does that look like in his life, and how does he really create a blueprint for that, and have all the data and the actual information, how he spends his day, what is energy draining, what is ways to increase his energy. It is just almost mind-boggling to me, the amount of time and effort that he's put into creating these systems to really, again, help him to find that harmony in life. And if you get a chance to check out any of his podcasts, certainly would recommend them. But really, his buzzword is harmony, and that's amazing, because it's really, I think, at least for me, something that is what I'm trying to do in life, is to find harmony, right? I don't like that word balance. It's a little bit tricky, how do you have, like, something, for example, like a work-life balance? Like, most of us probably don't, but there are certainly ways of being able to, create balance in life, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like opposing forces like work and the rest of your life. And I think the other part of that is, where does self-acceptance or self-compassion play into that? And that's been, again, an important focus for me. There's a author, Kristen Neff, that has a book on self-compassion. She's done like TED Talks on it. Again, highly recommend check out her work, as it has really been eye-opening for me to, again, try to incorporate self-compassion, because I can be sometimes a little bit too hard on myself. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. I often am my own worst enemy. So being able to have some self-compassion, not excuses, but being able to have a better understanding or awareness has been certainly something that has helped me I'm going to use that word harmony again because it just really seems to fit. So that's my path. I want to share that with you, and certainly want to share with you some of my thoughts and reasons for why I feel that putting in the work is important, and in doing so, it is being able to control my effort, having that growth mindset, trying to set goals, and really, like I was saying before, the important part of the goal setting is the action taking, and always trying to be that sponge, and always trying to be curious and ask questions and be learning, and then also trying to really have that core discipline coupled with that time management piece. Um, Thank you guys again for listening to the David Fisher podcast. I'm your host, David Fisher, wishing you all an amazing day. And just in case nobody told you this today, you are worth it. Thanks, guys. Take care.